Now, as the first presidential science, technology and innovation plenary this week, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced a 1 billion rand commitment from the National Skills Fund for science and technology PhD students. Ramaphosa says this initiative will bring together government, academia, civil society and industry experts to drive critical skills in artificial intelligence, research, advanced biotechnology, fuel cell development and mining. Let's now get some thoughts on this with Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research at Rhodes University, Dr. Kwezi Mzilikazi. Very good morning to you. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Thank you for your time. I mean, as we try and take stock of the importance of this initiative and how crucial it will be in addressing the gap and also assisting in creating jobs, what are the benefits of such an initiative?
Good morning, Paul, and thank you for having me. I think first and foremost, we need to applaud the presidency for this step. I think the real question really is around what does this respond to? And I think we need to remind ourselves that nations, including South Africa, make certain commitments about how much they are going to spend on research and development as well as skills development. Why this is important is because it responds to the intentions that we have articulated in our National Development Plan. And what the country has committed to in that National Development Plan is that we want to progressively move towards being a knowledge-based economy. And being a knowledge-based economy then means that we need to invest heavily in our science and technology and broadly in the national science innovation space so that we can come up with cutting-edge knowledge that then helps us to respond to our current challenges as well as challenges that are predicted for the future. So I think that's the broader context of this investment.
Do you think this initiative will only close a skills gap or perhaps further exacerbate the lack of funding in solution-based research initiatives and industries, especially considering that most of the sectors and industries are really riddled in financial troubles? I mean, is the grassroots solution effective? Is this, going to work?
Well, I think we'd have to explore what a grassroots initiative means. I think when we look at the types of skills that our country needs, we need to remember that we need a mix of skills. And those skills are derived from broadly the PSET sector, which is post-school education and training. And that includes our TVET colleges. It includes our universities of technologies as well as our universities. And so I'd like to encourage us not to only look at this initiative as planning to give us all the skills that we need. We need to acknowledge that the skills are derived in a much broader context than just this particular scheme. Now, in terms of what we need, the country has, through the Department of Employment and Labour, a critical skills list. And your postgraduate students, including doctorates, are listed as needed in our skills mix in a critical area. So it is not really a competition between skills in the one area versus skills that are developed through PhD programs.
And what are the many opportunities? I mean, I know that there are some universities that are specifically training graduates to become researchers, which is imperative in the global, society and communities. But is this now an opportunity for jobs as we hone in on what the initiative aims to achieve?
The short answer is yes, but we need to remember that this is a long game. This is not a short game. So one gets into a PhD after a minimum of 6 years at university and will spend 3 to 5 years embarking on a PhD. And so this is a long pipeline that starts with a first-year student and goes all the way to a PhD in 10, 12, or even 15 years in some cases. And so it's not a quick fix, but what we do know and what research has shown is that those countries that invest in high-end skills, such as those which you get through your PhD programs, compete better in a global sense and also respond better to challenges in local context. Because what you really want in terms of knowledge being created is to respond to your pressing challenges in your immediate environment, nationally, continentally, and then more broadly contribute to the global knowledge stock that, takes humanity forward.
You speak about response to local, content. What lessons can now be learned from natural occurrences like natural disasters, like the COVID-19, the global crisis, as well as climate change, the floods that we saw out across several provinces, when it comes to South Africa being prepared and preempting and really having a plan ahead of events such as those?
Yeah. So if we start with what's happened in the past, you'll remember that some of the people that led in our national COVID response were actually some of our eminent scientists. They were providing up-to-date information on how the virus was behaving and informing what behaviors we then needed to adopt as a response to how the virus was behaving and spreading. And so the ability to collect, analyze, process, model on a large scale in terms of data is absolutely critical. And this is one of the areas that this PhD fund will focus on. If we think about pressing issues like global climate change, which is set to give us longer droughts, more frequent and unexpected rains like we saw in KZN, and this is predicted to continue and predicted to be more frequent in our coastal provinces, our coastal towns. I think of little places like Port St. John's that have already been flooded in the recent past. We need to have the capabilities technologically that will allow us to predict what's going to happen, to show us what's happening in real time, to inform our responses to extreme and harsh events.
Of course, Dr. Mzilikazi, there's always concerns when money is being rolled out and questions around processes, beneficiaries, and the sort of prerequisites one would need to become funded by this initiative. And is 1 billion rand 1 billion rand significant in terms of is it reasonable, is it excessive, and how do you see it panning out in terms of being accessible and of course not being misused or not even seeing the initiative benefit PhD graduates?
Okay, so remember that these funds, at least in how I'm reading the President's statement, are supposed to be injected or invested towards the training of PhD graduates. And so this isn't funding for graduates who have already obtained their PhDs, but it's funding for those who are yet or currently embarking on their PhD studies. And so there is actually a very structured way in which PhD education happens in the country. And the first one is that it happens within the context of our 26 public universities. And so in terms of access, one would think that for as long as students are registered in PhD programs that are aligned with the priority areas, then they will be eligible for funding. The second thing is that we do have a National Science Granting Council in the form of our National Research Foundation, which is tasked by Parliament to support postgraduate training. And so the disbursement of the funding is highly regularized. And so I don't see that there would be a challenge of misuse of the funds.
Very well. Thank you so much for that. Let's perhaps leave it there for now. Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation and Strategic Partnerships at Rhodes University, Dr. Kwezi Mzilikazi. Still to come.